Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. Today, we welcome the return of the gentleman barbarian, Mr. Bruss Hamilton. How are we doing, man?
Hey, doing good, man. Happy to be back on here. Glad we could schedule this out.
You know, with such a monumental occasion, 1 year in the business, got your first championship gold. You've been everywhere doing everything. I thought it was only right to get you back on here, get
Yeah.
an update. I'm glad to hear from you. Glad to see you're doing great things. Um, Before we dive into those things, you want to shout out your social medias and things like that, just to let the people know where they can find you. Just one more time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime you want to look me up on any social medias, X, Instagram, Facebook, it's either going to be Bruss Hamilton, Bruss Hamilton Pro. There you go. Anywhere you want to look for me, it'll be under those two names.
Easy and simple. I love it. I think that's what I said last time,
Yeah.
word for word. um, but since our last conversation, during that last conversation, I should say, one of your goals was to make a mark somewhere. And we are less than halfway through the year, and you've already met that goal. You have won tag team gold inside CSW
Yep.
alongside Steve Boz. What was that moment like for you going into that match, defeating the champions who were on quite the streak? What was that like?
That's a pretty big deal to me, because that's CSW, that's Hades, that's Steve Boz, that's Marche Rocket, that's all those guys basically giving me their stamp of approval. It's empowering. It's surreal to be told that I'm good enough to represent their promotion, that I'm good enough that they want me to represent their promotion, to hold a title, so that I'm a mainstay there, and that they want to keep me there, and that they value me in that way. So it was a very powerful moment for me, especially to have someone like Steve Boz, um, you know, pick me to be a part of the Made Men, because they saw something in me that could, provide that quality product they're looking to put out.
I know talking to you after shows, before shows, things like that. You told me that like joining the Made Men was kind of a last minute decision. Is that correct?
I don't know how last minute it was. I just know that I found out last minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how did that conversation go? And what was that night like for you? Because I know at the beginning of the night you had a scramble match, was
Oh, yes.
unsuccessful
I
in
remember
that
this.
night,
Yeah. So,
and
so, yeah, it was basically I was supposed to be in a scramble match and, go through all of that, and then uh, potentially like join in as some sort of like, I don't know, assistant role or something. Like it was all hearsay. And then TJ ended up getting an injury, and he had to go out again. And they were like, "Well, hey, guess what? Time to step up." And
okay.
so, yeah.
So so originally it was supposed to be TJ Steele in that role with Marche and Boz, and
If I understood them correctly, that's what I believe. But and this is something about me, is that I'm, even though that they're using me to represent the company, they're putting the tag titles on me. I don't ask a lot of questions. I'm very much a do as I'm told. I show up and say, "What do you need from me today?" They tell me what they need, and then I go and do it.
that's
So you know how most wrestlers, like, well, at least from my perspective, I see most wrestlers are very heavily involved and they want to know everything, and I I'm just there to do my job. So I don't really ask you. I don't think that I'm at the point in my career where I should be asking too many questions. So I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm here. What do you need from me? Okay, that's what I'm going to give you.
fair enough. And it seems to have worked out pretty well for you so far.
Yeah.
Becoming champion, working with Boz and Marche. Um, you know, being around those two guys specifically, Marche, Steve Boz, they've been in the business forever. Um, have you been able to pick their brain and to maybe be able to take some of the things they've learned and use it throughout, what you do in the ring, outside of the ring, maybe take it to other promotions, things like that?
Every time, every single time I speak to him, every single time. And I think that's another reason why they wanted to use me, was to help bring me along quicker, because they saw the momentum I've been building on the indies, and they see that I'm growing very quick. And, while that's a great problem to have, one of the issues that arises is that you might get put in a situation you're not prepared for. And they said, hey, let's come over here. Let's spin you up real fast. So literally every time I talk to them, they have something of value to offer me that I use in probably that match that night, and then I use going forward.
Okay. Another place you were heavily involved in is AAW. Also here in the Chicagoland area. You are a member of the Bravo family,
That's
along
right.
with Sean Logan and Johnny Bravo and a couple others. How did you get brought into the fold with Bravo and the other guys inside that group?
So I was trained at Black and Brave, as we know from the first podcast, and the man that trained my coaches, the man who trained Matt Mayday, Merrick Brave, and Seth Rollins, it was Danny Daniels,
Yep.
the owner and promoter of AAW, and he went down to an SCW Pro show, which is basically the promotion that like Black and Brave graduates wrestle out of in Davenport, Iowa. Essentially, is what that is. To see ACH wrestle. This is when ACH was trying to spin his comeback in the Midwest. Excuse me, I don't know where that's coming from.
You're all good.
And he saw me in my match, and he approached me and said, "Hey, I really like your look. I know you're super new, but like let's bring you on." This happened last July, 2024. He said, I want you to come by the show. Start coming by." I said, "Okay." Very first show, I'm like fingers crossed for a pre-show something, like I was just kind of there. I thought I was like, hey, I'm going to be here to hold at the wall and learn, and that's going to be what it is. And nope, I had a match 2 on the card where I got to squash somebody, and then introduction into the Bravo family where I took out Hartenbauer and replaced him.
Okay.
So that's literally how it happened. I got really lucky that he came to my show that I was on and decided that he liked what he saw. And he's been helping. He's another one like Steve Boz, like Marche Rocket. I'll say especially John E. Bravo. He specifically, I've worked with him at IWR. I've been around him at Wrestle Revolver, and I obviously I work close with him at AAW, and he has definitely done a lot for like every time he sees me, he adds value to me and wants to, and is eager to, and seems really enthusiastic about me being in professional wrestling. So I can't say enough about Johnny Bravo.
Is Bravo how you ended up going to IWR, or did Rhino or Gary hit you up on their own?
No, no. That was IWR is one of the first promotions I ever hit up.
Okay.
I went on social media and I just blasted out a million, please, can I come do ring crew? And they happened to be one of the people that responded. And once I started showing up, I never stopped showing up and eventually got on the show.
Nice. Um, your character there is kind of interesting. You're part of, the Buckeye Roots.
Yeah.
How did that kind of come together? That's what I'm trying to say.
I think he was looking for another heavy for that group.
Okay.
You get 4 people in, you can run 2 tag teams, you can run a single, you can run a 6-man tag. Kind of opens up what we can do as the Buckeye Brutes. And he just kind of Rhino specifically approached me and asked me if I'd be interested, and if I was interested in just like, hey, do you want to just come in here today and do this? And I was like, okay, well, at least that's how I understood it. And so I was like, okay, I'm just getting thrown in with this group. This is nice. And then no, what he meant was, hey, you're on the show. You're in this group. And so I was like, kind of like, oh, can I come back again? He's like, yeah. Yeah, you're a Buckeye Brute now. Like,
You're a part of them.
I didn't. I thought I was just, because it happened very quickly there. They've treated me very well at IWR. That's another one where they have a guy, Jeremiah Goldmain. He runs like the ring crew and everything like that. And he's another one that like stuck his neck out for me there. Gary did, Rhino, everybody there had kind of like really embraced me really quick. And so I had gotten put into the Buckeye Brute so quickly that I thought that there was a one-off just to take a look at me. And it was not, that's like, hey, we want you on the show. This is where you're going to be for right now.
Okay. And in March, that was the first time I made my way up to Monroe to watch an IWR show, which was quite the show, might
Yeah.
I add. And I was shocked to see you on the card. I briefly looked at the card. I kind of just went with the expectation of just to see what happens. And seeing you was obviously a pleasant surprise. In that match, though, that you was a part of, you went through your first table. What was that
Right. My
experience
very
like?
first time. Yeah. Isaiah Bronner put me through a table. Yep.
How'd that feel?
Oh, it felt good actually. Obviously there's a little bit of nerves there, but you know what you sign up for when you get into professional wrestling. And no, it wasn't. It really wasn't bad at all.
No?
No.
Okay. Not long after that, you compete in a matchup. There's no ring. Just kind of chaos. What was that like? I believe it was at a bar, correct? I want to say
Oh yeah, in Iowa City,
in
Iowa
Iowa
City
City. Yep.
Underground. Yeah, by Dante Leon and Carlos Oliva. Yeah, they other Black and Brave graduates there. They invited me onto their shows. My first time doing a show like that as well, and I mean it was a blast. It was kind of one of those things where you're not going to call a lot of it. You're going to go out there. You're going to play to the crowd. Really is just a hey, we're going to go out here and cause havoc, make some noise, and have some fun. And so, I mean, it was really a no pressure situation. Just have a good time.
Okay. Okay. And is that some place that you could see yourself doing more, especially in that kind of environment where there's no ring, no rules, just wrestling?
I mean, I'd never turn it down, but it was kind of like even at that show too, where like, hey, I did the match the very next day. I had to go and wrestle for Iron Spirit Pro at a more child friendly show. I can't be cut up and covered in bruises and like trying to put on like more of a kids entertainment style. So like, and I had told them that I was like, hey, I would love to go back. I always want to help out the Black and Brave crew, and they helped me out, and it was just a good time for everybody. I thought I had a blast doing it, but I also can't cross too many lines for them,
Yeah.
as like say some other wrestlers can. So it's just one of those things. But I'd never say no, as long as we stay like within those boundaries. So I'm not coming out the next day all scarved up in my face. Yeah.
Something about you, I that really interests me. I was just listening to our other podcast, and you talk about, your travel, the the work you put in, the dedication you put in, the time you spend away from your family, and then also just the amount of time you also spend, at work doing your normal job. Does it ever get hard for you to balance, working and, living a life and professional wrestling at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been hard from day one, man. Like that's my family's downstairs watching it with his family TV time right now. They're downstairs watching a movie. I'm up here doing this podcast, making sure that I can help you get your podcast out there, keep my face online, and stay prominent in the independent wrestling world, and do what it takes, to try and keep my status that I've worked so hard to build. And so this is the part of the balancing. It's like, okay, we talk and say, hey, I'd like to keep this under 30 minutes so I can get back down there. I can be back with the family.
Yeah.
But I still add value, hopefully add value to your show. You add value to my life and my career. And it's a tit for tat thing. So it's kind of like one of those things where like it's hard. I say it's hard. My automatic answer is yes, but it's a yes and a no. Yes, it's hard because overall it's difficult. There are sacrifices that not only I have to make, that I have to ask my family to make as well. But no, it's not hard because this is what it takes. And this is what I chose. So if I'm going to make the choice to live this lifestyle, if I'm going to make the choice at the age of 35 to have a sudden career change, even though I'm a family man, then I have to actively pursue this with a love and a want that it requires. And that's passion, and that's how you build. And so, yes and no.
Okay. What's it been like for you to try to find a balance in between, wrestling and your everyday life?
A lot of conversations with the wife. A lot of, hey, what's your schedule this weekend? Hey, what's your schedule this week? What hours are you going to be here? What hours are you going to be there? This is where I'm fitting in the gym. This is how this is where she's fitting in the gym. This is when we're all going to be together. Hey, a kid's got a t-ball game today. We've got one kid having a band concert over here. And so it's just a ton of open communication to where I almost know exactly what I'm doing for basically 1 week at a time. We basically know like every minute of every day, hey, what is going to happen at this time? So everything is bound, and that's what it takes. Is I have a great partner in my wife who is willing to put in that kind of work as well to make sure that my life is balanced.
And if you want me to be honest, the reason I ask is because I am just now trying to work my way into starting my own family and life in that same capacity. So that was just a little bit of advice, I guess, I was trying to pick out. So
Yeah,
hopefully, you definitely helped me in saying that. Hopefully you can help a viewer, if that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely.
um, Before I get into a little bit more wrestling, just because we talked about it last time, it's always fun to ask. Have you drank your milk today?
I have. Yep, full
Have you?
gallon.
Okay,
Yep,
full
absolutely.
gallon.
Full
Still
gallon. Yeah.
Fairlife.
Yeah. No, no. So I actually, funny story with this too. I found another milk company called Dairy Gold, and they have a brand where it's ultra filtered, and it's called Dairy Gold Fit. Where Fairlife, still high quality milk. It was giving me like 100, I think 172 or 164, 172 grams of protein per gallon. This is actually giving me 196 grams.
Okay.
Yeah, so I always try to get in a minimum of 300 grams of protein a day, and I have 2/3 of that done with 1 gallon of milk. So I moved on to Dairy Gold Fit to the point that I actually called the company and was like, hey, how do I get this direct shipped to my house? Because my local grocery store doesn't stock 7 gallons a week, And so I ended up being able to work a deal out with the grocery store, but shout out to Dairy Gold Fit because I want to say like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they ended up calling me back and sending me a bunch of coupons and everything and some swag for their company. So it was a really funny interaction because they were like, "Who are we've never had anyone drink this much milk or make a phone call with that kind of a request." So they wanted to know who I was.
That's amazing. Do you think you get like a sponsorship or something out of it? Is that something that you've ever thought
I mean, I would absolutely love. Have I thought of it? Absolutely, it would be
of?
great to be sponsored by Dairy Gold Fit. So I have to keep grinding to get my name out there to maybe be big enough that they'd even be interested.
Okay, okay. Maybe this podcast will help with that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Going back to that CSW match where you joined the Made Men, somebody else made an appearance in that match that night that kind of shocked the crowd, and that
Hmm.
was Robert Anthony.
Yeah.
Did you guys know before that Ego was going to be making an appearance, or was it just as big of a surprise to you guys as it was the crowd?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea Ego was going to be there. I was shocked. I've kind of interacted with him loosely at AAW, but to actually be able to get into a ring with like a legend like that was, just again, just a really big deal and another reflection of how much trust I'm getting from CSW and the fact that he would be willing to get in the ring with me, so that was a big surprise.
And the next month at CSW go on, you guys would defeat yourself and Steve Boz, I should say, would go on to defeat Jack and Eddie Grayson. Incredible match. And then you go on to beat Adam Stallion and Cypher for the tag team championships. What do you think is next for you and Steve Boz? I know this next month there isn't a show for CSW, but the following month you guys make your return.
Hmm.
What do you guys have in store for us?
I mean, I just imagine that somebody's probably going to want to challenge us for those titles, and they're going to lose.
Okay,
I can't imagine any
plain
more
and
than
simple.
that. I don't know anyone that has any major problems with us. I haven't heard any rumors or murmurs, but once again, this is where like I'm a person. I don't ask questions. I don't really care who it is.
Okay.
They're going to lose. I just got those titles with Steve Boz. I'm not letting go of them yet. you know?
I feel like the Made Men storyline, it's already had a lot of, plot twists, new members joining, attacks here, attacks there. I feel like we're just now getting started with this storyline and the possibilities. And me and my dad honestly sat here and speculate on and on and on about who could join, who could turn. Do you think that that we're right in assuming that the story's just begun?
Oh, I don't see anything changing anytime soon. Like I said, I'm honored that they picked me. I'm honored to be a part of the Made Men, and I'm excited to see just how high we can climb. I mean, we have almost every title in the company,
Yep.
and what's stopping us from getting all the rest of them? Maybe. I'm there to do what Steve Boz and Marche Rocket tell me to do, because what they tell me to do has gotten me tag team gold, right?
Yes, sir.
And if they tell me they want to bring a woman in to try and get the CSW Women's Championship, who am I to question that? I'm not going to question anything they say or do, because they are the ones who put me in a position to get the gold.
Makes sense. If just in theory, let's say they wanted to add a woman to the mix, do you have anybody on that roster that maybe would stand out above others?
Oh, I don't know the women well enough, and that CSW roster is stacked. It's almost like you can't make especially in the women's division.
Yes.
It's strong top to bottom, and it almost feels like you can't take a wrong turn. You know,
Just
if
while we're fantasy booking, I guess who I think would make the most sense, especially after the last show. Lily was in the women's championship match. She came up short. Her whole family was there. The way Inestra on screen uh, berates her and treats her definitely could cause somebody to make a turn. That would be a very interesting twist if it was possible.
well, she's an absolute powerhouse.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be upset if she was on my side.
It should fit the mold too, because the made men have an appearance. They look a certain way. They walk a certain way. She definitely fits that mold.
Yeah,
So it would just make sense, I guess, if that makes sense.
I do. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Um, you know, Also in the last couple months, you've made appearances on WWE program. You were a part of a breakup in between Gunther and Jey Uso. Um, what was it like being able to come back to the WWE doing security work and being involved in a storyline, a main event like storyline on TV before WrestleMania?
Not powerful, especially Gunther's my all-time favorite wrestler. I love everything that man does. I feel like he can do no wrong. And so to be able to be involved and to get tips from him and the insight that because, when you run it in security and they want to tell you, like, here's how you need to stand and here's how you need to act and talk. And, like, everyone has their own way of doing it. And so you hear, like, from the talent at WWE, where they want you, how they want you, pay attention to these cues from me to react for these things. And to be able to just basically stand there with my mouth open in awe of Gunther telling me what to do was pretty cool.
You know, Not many men on this planet make Gunther look like an average size human being. And you're one of those guys that stands next to Gunther. And we could see me and my dad were watching Raw that night. And immediately, I remember I think I shared a picture of you, but I was like, I could see, like, this just makes sense. Gunther and Bruss in the same ring, same time. It's got to
Yeah. I mean,
happen.
I'm not quite 6'5". Gunther's a
No,
very tall man.
tall guy, but
Yeah.
you got
Yeah. But he's not exactly 290 pounds either. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Um, if you had to pick, who's a dream match for you? Who do you want to get in the ring with?
I mean, any roster,
Any roster,
or
anywhere.
I mean, then it's Gunther. Yeah. I feel like I don't want to say that I haven't modeled myself after any one wrestler in like my style, but he's definitely a key piece of it.
Okay.
And I like the way that he structures matches. I like simplicity. I like story driven, foreshadowing. I like it to be that way at the pace that it's done, so that while we near the end of the match, when we want to get to that gear shift and we want to start taking it up a notch and everything, that we didn't do anything in the beginning or the middle of the match that was bigger already to get a shock factor. And it just, the way he structures from beginning to end is just exactly what I am trying to learn to the level that he does it. And then, of course, another person, I don't think I've ever actually said this on camera, but it is definitely the truth. Seth Rollins, who doesn't want to wrestle their own coach?
Yeah.
And especially when your coach is
The
like
caliber of
number one
superstar
in the
Seth
world,
Rollins.
yeah, like the guy right now, and has been for a long time. Would love to be able to actually be in a full-fledged match with him and just experience that, because there are some things that I got to see of how he does and how he communicates in the ring and everything, that when witnessing it, there was no way at that time could I process what was going on, and then now I think I might be able to process about 20% of it. And so I want to be in there, and I want to experience it and really have to take myself to that level.
With Rollins right now, he just kind of had a character shift. He got a stable with Paul Heyman, Bronson Reed, Ron Breaker. Everybody's talking about chatter of an extra man. Could you imagine if Hamilton was that extra man, if he was the fourth member of that group?
I mean, couldn't go wrong doing that. I've been very open about having my world champion strongman background, and how strong I am and how I flaunt that in the ring and the way that I do those things. And I can confidently say that I would be one of the strongest men in the WWE now that Braun Strowman's gone. You know, I would be I would contend to say I'd be willing to say that I might be in the top 5 even on the WWE roster with my strength. And when you have Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and me,
Nobody's stopping you guys.
right? How do you can't stop that?
No, that's a wall ready
Yeah,
for anybody to hit it.
absolutely, absolutely. No one's breaking there. Yeah.
No, not absolutely not. And just out of for comedic relief, it'd be Seth Rollins and then the three Bs. It'd be Bruss, Braun, and Bronson.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
No, a couple more questions. I'll let you go, Bruss. At the last AAW show, War is Coming. It was yourself, Sean Logan versus Hartenbauer and Isaiah Moore. Fans bring the weapons. I feel like that was a culmination of kind of this feud that you guys, the Bravo families, had against Hartenbauer. How important was that match for that, that feud, that rivalry, and how different is it being in a fans bring the weapons kind of matchup?
So that was my first time being in that match, and it reminded me a lot of the one where I did No Ring, right, in the Iowa City Underground. There wasn't a lot of planning that went into it. It was more of a let's go out there, let's see what we have, and let's call it out there. Let's have a good time doing it that way. Storyline wise, I think it's a powerful moment for Hartenbauer. Who gets taken out by the new big guy, then tears his bicep and is out for months, and then has to come back, and he's on a revenge tour, and has been climbing, trying to get it against Sean and I in any way that we can, and then he finally does. And so I think for Hartenbauer especially, that's a very powerful moment for him. And that match, I'm willing to say, was match of the night on the show. You get a bonus, you get a boost from fans bring the weapons. So it's hard not to have the crowd involved when they are specifically asked to be involved,
Yeah.
And so, but we got emotion heavily invested in our performance, and them, and a couple of this is awesome chants and everything going. And when the finish happened the way it did, for Hartenbauer to basically get a standing ovation and his own "This is awesome" chant. Powerful moment.
You know, after that loss, do you have any speculation for what's next for the Bravo family coming forward in AAW, or are we just enjoying the ride?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the ride. Bravo pays me a lot of money to be in that family and to do what he says. So I'm a weapon for hire. I will do as I'm told. If I've got more to do with Hartenbauer, then Hartenbauer, look out. I'm coming for you. You know, there's nothing else to it.
Okay. Okay. Uh, Last question, then I'll let you go. I asked this last time. You've already accomplished the goal that you set forth at the beginning of the year. Now that we're halfway through the year, if we had to reevaluate, what's the goals for the rest of 2025?
Ooh, you know, it's true. You know, AAW, CSW, especially, I feel like I've really kind of got my spot, kind of made
Yeah,
my moments and is ready to
foot's
climb, like we
firmly in the
talked
door.
about. Yeah. And like I said, IWR, you know, we're still climbing that ladder there, but I feel like I'm wanted there. And so, yeah, I would agree that that 2025 goal has already been reached. And so I guess it would be the right thing to do to make a different goal for this year. Um, and maybe that starts with um, maybe that starts with more prominent matches. You know, I'm backing down on the amount that I'm wrestling. So last year, my first year of wrestling, I did over 110 matches. And like I told you, I was on the road, I was living in my car. Now I really don't want to do more than 2 or 3 matches a week. And I want to take that time, because what happened was, you know, when I'm wrestling 3 to 5 times in a week, by that third time, and especially when you're as new as I was and, you know, am, there's so much that your brain has to go through, and if it's not muscle memory, then it's a lot of work to go through. And so by 3, 4, and 5 of the week, I am mentally shot. I'm not putting out my best foot just because I'm too tired. You know, it's almost too hard for me to do that and adjust to that. And so, I mean, I still believe that I delivered a quality product. I was always asked back. You know, I've never been turned away somewhere. So I still believe that I did a good job. But I think that if I can drop the matches back down to 2 or 3 times a week, then I can do my best work. And it's time for me to start improving. So I've cemented myself in these certain places. I'd like to take my time in those places and grow so that I can set up 2026 for maybe there's a GCW appearance. Maybe there's some coastlines I can get out to say, like, Relentless, Prestige, Limitless, you know, things like that, and try to get out there and really become a national name on the indies in professional wrestling.
Okay. Russ, I just want to say, thank you 100% for doing this again, being a guest 2 times. And I can't wait to do it again. I could do it, talk to you all day if you let me, but we're
Yeah,
both busy guys, so I understand.
that's right.
Uh, just thank you 100%. I can't tell you how much of an honor it is to watch you grow. It's an absolute privilege, and just thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I always love it.
Of course. I know we did it at the beginning. I know we talked about it last time. You want to shout out the social media just one more time, just in case they missed them for some reason?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, any social medias, you can look me up. It's a pretty unique name, Bruss Hamilton or Bruss Hamilton Pro. Every social media that I'm on, X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that should pop up somewhere if you just Google that.
It's good. Russ, I will leave this off at see you next time.
All right. See you then.